Hey there, this is David Bianconi with CLC, and let's talk a little bit about selection. Um, Selection is, who do you select to, who is it that you grab to um, make into a disciple? Who is it that you after you prayed and you go meet with guys and then you've met with different ones, you go, oh man, that would be one I would select to pour my life into. How do you know? Well, there's a great book that we can learn some about this, and I've sure learned some things about it, and I would recommend it to you. It's called The Master Plan of Evangelism. And when you get that book, the first chapter is selection. The book's about the principles behind Jesus's methods. And so, but that first principle is selection. And he says, select men that the multitudes will follow. And so here's a guy the multitudes will follow. Let me try to depict this to you. It's a guy that others just love being around. He is a godly guy. He loves the Lord. He loves people. He conducts himself in a manner that's worthy of God. But he could be a very young guy in the Lord, but you can already tell people just want to follow him. He's a kind of a born leader type. And remember, we're not talking about guys that are always the good looking jock guy, like me. No, we're talking about guys that God calls. 1 Samuel 16:7 says, "But the Lord said to Samuel, do not consider his appearance or his height," talking about Jesse's son Eliab. "Do not consider his appearance or his height, for I have rejected him." The Lord does not look at the things man looks at. Man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. So this is a guy that the Lord looked at his heart and said, this man is somebody that men will follow. And you'll see that. You'll get around him and think, ooh, this is a good dude. Man, guys would flock around him. He's a guy that at church there's people that are around him and they're talking to him and they're his friend, and he's a good friend back to them. He's somebody that takes care of his friends. He cares about people and he cares about God. So those are some characteristics of men that the multitudes will follow, and we can talk more in a conversation about that. But that's a little bit of an overview of selection, of who it is. Who is a guy that the multitudes will follow? And that we pray for guys like that. Why do we pray for guys like that? Well, one of the reasons that we do is, so let me just say this kind of plainly. There are some guys who they're great guys. They love the Lord, but they're kind of loners. They're by themselves. They do things with people, but they're not reaching out to others. They're kind of doing their own thing. Their thought isn't, ooh, I'm going to do this and I'm going to invite my friends to it and let me see how I can make it really good. They're just kind of, they hear about something and they go do it, but they're not bringing others together around Jesus. That's just not their thing. And men aren't coming around them and saying, hey, can I go with you? Some of those guys are like nerds. They love Jesus and they're great. And I've got some nerdy habits too, but okay, so there's guys like that. But then there's guys that are, those guys that are sort of the nerds or the introverts that aren't reaching out to others, they're good guys. But if the men aren't following those guys, when you pour into that guy, he's not going to be reaching out to his friends, and others won't be coming to him. But there's other guys that men the multitudes will follow, that you pour into them, and they make friends, and the nerds will be friends with that guy, and they'll go do what he's doing. They'll want to be around him. So if you get the guys that the multitudes will follow, you'll get the nerds too. You'll get the introverts too. For lack of a better way to say that. Do you understand? I think you do. So that's part one of selection.